Okay, this is part 2. Okay, this is part 2. And so I'm gonna start off reading just what I read before, so we can pick off, because I'm not sure where it stopped. I haven't had a chance to go back and watch it. So I'm gonna start where I left off. I'm reading Exodus 33, verses 12, and it says, so now Moses is having a conversation with God. You know, God has withdrew his presence from the children of Israel because of their sin, because they began to worship other gods. But Moses still has God's ear. He still has not only God's ear, but he has the people, the children of Israel, in his heart. You know, he was a true leader. He knew that they had sinned. He knew that God was angry, but Moses still continued to cry out for them. And so, verse 12 says that, then Moses said to the Lord, see, you say to me, bring up this people, but you have not let me know whom you will send with me. Yet you have said, I know you by name, and you have also found grace in my sight. Now, therefore, I pray, if I have found grace in your sight, show me your way, that I may know you, and that I may find grace in your sight, and consider that this nation is your people. And so Moses is crying out still for the people. He's like, God, I know you're angry at them. I know that they did evil, but, look what they just came out of. They don't know any better. All they know is Egypt worship. Although, yes, you've performed all these wonderful miracles for them, Lord, have mercy. You said that these are your people. And then watch this as Moses cries out on behalf of the people. And then he said, and he is God, my presence will go with you, and I will give you rest. That is a forgiving, loving, good God that says, yes, I'm angry, and because I'm angry, I'm going to withdraw my presence. But because of the intercessor, because of the leader that cried out for the people, my presence will go with you. And not only will my presence go with you, I will give you rest. And I thought that was so beautiful, because it shows a beautiful picture of leadership, number one, when God is calling you to lead people or to be a covering for people, that sometimes they're going to mess up and they're going to make mistakes and they're going to do things wrong because they just don't know any better, or they think that they know better, better than you, right? But the beautiful heart of a leader that Moses showed is that he cried out for them. He said, you chose me to do this, like you said these were your chosen people. I got to remind you of what you said, God, so have mercy on them, Lord, So I just thought that was so, so beautiful. I also thought what was beautiful, yes, absolutely. And without his presence, there can be no rest. I'm telling y'all what I know. But I also saw what was very beautiful in this text, that the beauty of Moses' intimate friendship with God. I love that we're called a friend of God. I love that we now have access to his presence. I love that we can commune with him in the beauty of his holiness, and that he truly does give us rest. And it's a rest that comes even in the face of opposition. It's a rest that comes even in the midst of not knowing what to do. It's a rest that comes even in really just being completely unsure. But that rest comes through being in his presence. That peace comes through being in his presence. That joy comes through being in his presence. The supernatural impartation that we need to live in this earth, on this earth, in a very wicked, dying land, comes through the intimacy that we have with the Father. And through that intimacy, we're able to change the face of the earth. We're able to be vessels that God can use to flow through the earth. It doesn't have to be wicked. It doesn't have to look like it does. God is like, yeah, I can just completely wipe out the face of the earth if I wanted to, But because of the intercessors in the land, because we cry out to God on behalf of the people, he won't do it. He's going to give everybody a chance to come to him. And so this word today, preparing for promise, is so powerful because God wants you, everybody that's watching live, everybody that'll watch the playback, he's called us each individually to a specific sphere of influence. It can be your family, right in your home. It can be a church or a ministry or a business that you may run. Whatever it is, God has called you to be his leader. And it's our job as his leader to cry out for the people until we see change. Is to cry out that people will have an encounter with God that will completely set them free, that will completely change the trajectory. I don't know why I can't say that word. The trajectory of their lives, because that's where true transformation takes place. It takes place in the presence of God, right? And so that should be our heart's cry for people, that they will experience his presence, that they may ultimately experience his rest. And so I want to give you a few tips as I close with what God gave me, that you need God's presence to acquire and maintain the promise. I'm going to say that again. You need God's presence to acquire and maintain the promise. And we see that demonstrated in verses 15 and 16. So let me give you a quick recap of the lessons that we learned from Moses that we all need to take a hold of as we prepare to enter into our promised lands. And I took this for myself first, and I really feel led to share it with you all today. Number one, you have to be willing to separate yourself on a regular basis for consecration. You gotta be willing to do it. One of the things not only that we learn from Abraham and Isaac and Jacob and Moses, but also Jesus, right, is that he took time to separate himself regularly to spend time in the presence of God, that they lived consecrated and set apart lifestyles. That doesn't mean that we don't consecrate and set apart and then come and be where the people are that are hurting, that are sick, that are dealing with all kinds of things. That's not to say that we don't come and be with them, because God wants us to be with them too, because how else will they know unless we're sent, right? But it's important that we also set aside that time to spend with the Father so that he can fill us with more of his spirit, more of his presence, more of his glory, more of his kabod, so that we can be effective in every assignment that we're called to. Number two, that we seek God with all of our heart, our mind, our soul, and our strength, because he said in that everything will be added unto us. Everything will be added unto us, right? So we need to be willing to set apart, spend time with God, and to seek him with all of our heart. Number three, we need to be willing to be a public witness. This Worship 365 broadcast is a part of my public witness. When I go out and I speak and I sing and I minister and I share the goodness of God, that's us being a public witness. What is God calling you to do? To be a public witness for him. Number four, we need to be willing to listen and obey God's voice. We need to be willing to listen and obey God's voice. When God begins to speak to you and give you wisdom and give you instructions, you have to be willing to hear him and obey him and do what he says do, even with fear and trepidation sometimes. Because sometimes God will have you to do stuff and you're afraid. You hear me? Like, but like Moses, I'm a man of unclean, uncircumcised lips. I can't even talk, right? When he called him to go and deliver the children of Israel from Egypt, he said, I can't even speak. But God even had a solution for that. He rose up his brother Aaron to be his prophet, to be his mouthpiece, and he will do the same thing for you. So stop making excuses of why you can't do what God has called you to do. God has already made a way. If he's given you a vision, he will truly make the provision. All you have to do is spend time in his presence, and he'll show you exactly what to do. And number five, you need to enter into a true covenant partnership with God. I'm talking about a true covenant partnership with God. I'm not talking about just saying, oh Lord, I love you, I'm a friend of God, singing the songs and, all of that. But your lifestyle is not lining up with covenant relationship. And you have to seek God for what that looks like for you. What does a covenant relationship between you and God look like? Begin to seek him for that. And I can give you just a few powerful words that tell you if you're in covenant relationship with God. Number one, faithfulness. Even through your own pain, even through your own discouragement, even through your own financial setbacks, even through your own marital strife, even through your own parenting strife. Trust me, y'all, over the past 330, what day is this? 334 days, I have gone through everything I just mentioned. Losing a house, strife with my children, marital strife with my husband, actually a season of separation, which you all will learn about. Issues with my health, issues with my finances. I have been through more things than I care to even share about just in 2018 alone. But guess what? You didn't know it. Why? Because I spent time in the presence of the Father, and he daily loaded me with benefits. One of the greatest attributes that he filled me with was love, to be able to stand even in the midst of the opposition, even in the midst of the turmoil, even in the midst of the deception, even in the midst of the lying, even in the midst of the cheating, even in the midst of all of it. God filled me with such a great measure of his love that it didn't even matter. And then he filled me with his joy so that I could have strength to stand on days when I didn't even think that I could stand, because I spent time in his presence. I'm not on here every day sharing with you something that I'm not living. I am living every single thing that I release on these broadcasts. I'm not just sharing with you great stories to inspire you. I'm telling you what works. And what works is spending time in the presence of God and allowing him to minister to your heart and to transform your life in ways that you have yet to even imagine. Another word is committed. Faithfulness is one thing, but being committed through pain. I had to keep doing these broadcasts, even going through my own stuff, even through my homeless situation, going from pillar to post, not knowing what to do, being by myself. My girls are now in college, and my husband and I were separated, and I still had to do Worship 365 broadcasts and create atmospheres of worship in the homes of people that I didn't even know. Right? I still had to be committed, and I still had to be faithful with the assignment because God told me to do it, right? And then being trustworthy. Can God trust you with the assignment? God trusts me to do this. He knew that although he saw what was going to happen when he told me to start doing these broadcasts, he said, I can trust baby girl. I know that she doesn't know what's coming, but I can trust her. I can trust her through sickness in her body. I can trust her through marital strife and separation. I can trust her even through losing a home. I can trust her when her daughters raise up and talk to her like she crazy, and she's not going to lash out at them. She's going to give them nothing but grace and love. I can trust her. And guess what? Because I can trust her, and because she's going to be faithful, and because she's going to do everything I told her to do, I'm going to restore to her 100-fold everything that was stolen, everything that was broken. And that's exactly what he's doing right now. I had to be prepared to walk into my place of promise. And it cost me everything. It even cost me my life. But it was worth it. It was worth it. 365 days of doing live broadcasts, even though some days were reposts and replays. And it was rough. It was rough navigating through this season. But I was faithful. And I still sought the Lord. And I still cried out to him, Abba, what must I do? What do you want me to do in this season? And guess what? Now I can honestly say that we are truly best friends, and we are truly in covenant. And whatever he tells me to do, no matter how difficult it might be, I know that he's got my back, because he's shown me He showed me. He showed me when I was a child that he has my back. He showed me in my 20s that he has my back. He showed me in my 30s that he had my back. Even in my disobedience, even when I went my own way and kind of drifted away from him, he's proven himself to be faithful over and over and over and over and over again. You got to be prepared to walk in your promised land. So if you're wondering why it's taken so long, if you're wondering why you're going through all you're going through, because you're being prepared for the promise. But the one word of wisdom I can give you as I close is that as you are being prepared for the promise, no matter what you have to endure, if you draw near to the Father in spirit and in truth, in worship, and seek his face every single day, through the tears, through the pain, through the disappointment, through the heartache, he will never leave you. He will never forsake you. He'll give you joy. He'll give you strength. He'll give you peace, and he'll fill you with a greater measure of your love, of his love, in order to stand even in the midst of difficulties. And so I love you so much with the love of the Lord. I thank you for your support during this year. I had no idea that God was preparing me to walk through the season. I'm coming through. I'm actually coming out of it. Glory to God. But it's been a long year of process. It's been a long year of personal transformation, but I'm so grateful that I made it. Here we are about to enter into the last 30 days of the year, and we will finish strong. I know God is going to give us such a powerful word, such powerful songs, such powerful worship, such powerful revelation to walk right into 2019. And I hope you stick by to see what he is doing. I hope you stay connected. I hope you invite. I hope you share, because everything that I'm giving you is Rhema. It is straight from the throne room of heaven. It is not manufactured. I speak what God gives me to speak, and I'm telling you, it is coming from the purest depths of my soul. I love you guys so much for sharing. I love you guys so much for inviting. I love you guys so much for your hearts and your words of wisdom and everything that you've done just to pray me through. I thank you for even those individuals who have prayed for me when they didn't see me doing the broadcast or when they didn't know what was going on. I thank you for your prayers. I thank you for your support. I thank you for your love, and I look forward to ending the year strong and seeing what God has in store for us in 2019. I love you with the love of the Lord, and the Lord willing, I'll see you right back here tomorrow for Worship 365. Bye, and have a blessed day. Love you guys.